Okay, so in this part of the video I'm going to explain how we can work out the key signatures for each of the keys that we need, and this goes up to grade 3 of NZMEB. So obviously grade 1 you're not going to need so many, but eventually we'll need to know a lot more, up to 4 sharps and 4 flats for grade 3. So the first thing we would need to remember is for the key with no sharps or no flats, it's called C major, and the relative minor, we haven't got onto minors yet, don't worry about this part, but the relative minor is A minor. And I'm just going to start by putting a bar line just to separate our keys as we make them up. So this is the key with no sharps or flats, C major, A minor. And first off we're going to do the sharp keys. And we can work out all the names for our key signatures just by starting from A, go to B, C, F, D in the middle, go to E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, and that's all of our keys up to 4 sharps. So you see I just went A, B, C, D, E, F, G, B, C, D, E, F, like this. Another easy way we can find out is if we start from C and we just count up 5 letters. C, D, E, F, G, G, A, B, C, D, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And we can do the same in the minor keys. A, B, C, D, E, E, F, G, A, B, B, C, D, E, F, F, G, A, B, C. So that's all the names of our key signatures for our keys with sharps in them. Okay, so how do we know what the sharps are in each of these key signatures? Well, we've got a little reminder and it goes fat cats go driving and eat bananas. Okay, what's all that about? So these are the letters of the sharps as we go up. Okay, so the first key signature that we had, remember, has no sharps or flats. The next key signature is G major, and it's going to have a F sharp. So we can draw that in. And that F sharp is going to carry on all the way along all our keys now. Okay, each of these has a F sharp as its first sharp. Okay, then moving on to the next key, so we've got one key with 1 sharp, and next we've got a key with 2 sharps, that's D major. And what are those sharps? They're going to be F and C. So we can draw a C in there for D major. Again, it's going to go all the way along all our keys with sharps. Next we've got a key with 3 sharps. What's that going to be? F, C, G. So we draw a G there. And our last key that we're looking at today, E major, has a G sharp in it. And then finally we need a key with 4 sharps, and the last sharp that we're looking at today, just going to go into E major. It's going to be D sharp. And just like our other example, it's a really good idea just to draw all these up at the start of an exam so that you've got a handy reference to look at later on. There's a couple of things we need to do with this little example here though, and it's just to remember that where we have F, the relative minor of A major, it's going to be F sharp minor, and the relative minor of E major is going to be C sharp minor. And actually you can keep going all the way up to the 7 sharps that we eventually going to have in all our keys, just by following the same pattern, following the same little example. So how does this work for keys where we've got flats? Okay, so we'll draw a double line there just to separate these flats. Now we draw our keys with our flats in them. Same thing, we want to start with the key that's got no flats. It's going to be C major, and again it's going to be A minor. Now we need to work backwards for flats, so we're going to go C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, it's going to be 2 flats, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F. Okay. So these are all the keys with our flats. So we found those quite easily by counting back down the line like that. Just like with the sharps, there's actually an easy way to figure out these two, and this time we count up in fourths. Remember the sharps, it was always +5, now it's +4. I'll just show you how that works. So we go C, D, E, F, F, G, A, B, B, C, D, E, E, F, G, A. Same thing happens in the minor, A, B, C, D, D, E, F, G, and that carries on like that. Okay, so now we need to know, we've got all our key signatures, we've got all our key names, the letter names. Now we just need to figure out what are the actual flats that we're going to put in here. Now we can still use our Fat Cats Go Driving little reminder here, but now, just like with our key signatures, we've actually got to work backwards. So the first one is going to be the last letter of our reminder. It's going to be a B. Again, we've got no sharps or flats for C major, A minor. So for F major, it's going to have a B flat. And just like with the sharps, that B flat carries on for all our keys. I'm going to go up to 4 this time, just like our sharps. Okay, so now we've got B. Okay, so now we've just got to remember, a little bit like our sharps down here, we've got to remember that some of these names actually have a flat after them. So it's got B flat major and E flat major, and after that all our flat keys have a flat in their name. B flat, E flat, A flat. These ones can all stay the same. Okay, that's why we don't have a F minor here. Now it's F minor is actually the relative of A flat major. But just carrying along with this, so we've got our no flats, we've got 1 flat. Now we need to go to our 2 flats and see what that is. It's going to be a B and an E. And okay, we can draw an E for all our keys from then on too. Same idea, B, E, A. E flat major, yes, has an A flat. And A flat major will also have an A flat. And our final flat so far today is going to be D, D flat for A flat major, F minor. Okay, so again, should only take a few moments to write all that up if you remember the sequence, remember the pattern that we're creating, and it's really handy to have for the whole exam, just to check that you know your keys and you're using the right ones and answers. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, so today we're going to look at doing the Grade 1 Music Theory exam paper for NZMEB. But before we start this exam paper, we just want to set up a few things that are going to really help us answer the questions quickly and accurately. And one of the first things we want to do is just set up a little chart with all of our notes. So here I've got a piece of paper with some lines written on it for our staffs, And as you can see, we've got a treble bass and a bass clef, a treble clef and a bass clef. And the first note that we want to write is the same note in both treble and bass. It's our C, and it's our middle C, which sits on a line between the two clefs. So here's middle C sitting on its line there. And then from there we can just go up with our treble notes and down into our bass notes. So being really careful, we're just going to go line, space, line, space, getting really carefully on the lines and the spaces. Count one note up at a time. And we're going all the way up our treble clef, filling in all the spaces and all the lines. And I think we can probably finish just up at the top here. Okay, so remember this was our C, this is a middle C. So the next note up is going to go D, E, F, G, A. Remember this starts again at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then another A up at the top. Okay, so that's drawn quickly all of the notes for our treble clef. Now to get our bass notes, we just need to go down from there. So we're going down from a line onto a space, and the same thing but just going down this time. Line, space, line, space, being careful, line, don't miss any out. I might be a bit clearer on this line. F, that's an A, isn't it, in bass? Line, and the same, I think we'll just finish down on our note there. So to get our letter names for these notes in the bass clef, we just need to count backwards now, or spell backwards. B, A, G, F, E, D, going backwards, B, A and a G, F and an E down the bottom. Okay, now that's going to be quite useful for us in a moment where we need to quickly recognise lots of different notes in the treble and the bass. So just keep this handy. So this is our NZMEB Music Theory Grade 1 exam paper. And the first thing you should do is remember to write your name up at the top. Okay, so the first question that we've got, this first section of questions, is all to do with timing and rhythm. And so for the first part of this question, they want us to write the name of these types of notes underneath. And they've given us the options: semi-breve, minim, crotchet, quaver. So we've got to choose one of those to describe each of these notes. This is the amount of time, the number of beats that each note takes up. So for the first one, this is a crotchet, and the good thing is they've given us an example of how to spell it. So spell it just the way they have there. That one there is our crotchet. So the next one here, this is a minim, but it's got this dot next to it. So we call it a dotted minim. M-I-N-I-M, spelling it the way they have there. So we've got crotchet, minim, but this is a dotted minim. This is another minim, but it's got no dot, so we just call it a minim, ordinary note. Ordinary one of those. And this is our note that's going to take up 4 beats. We're in 4/4. And this is our largest note, it's called semi-breve. Again, spelling it just the way they have. Now, there was a second part to this question, and it says next to each of the notes at A and C, write a rest, a musical rest that has the same time value. So we said the crotchet has a 1 beat, So we need to write the rest that has one beat. And a crotchet rest, I just remember to draw them like a Z and then put a little C underneath like that. Okay, and you'll see later on they've given us examples of how printed crotchet rests look very similar to that. So just remember Z and a C underneath. Minim rest. A minim rest, we want it to look like a little block of wood just sitting on this middle line. But make sure, be really careful that you only fill in part of the space. Don't fill in the whole space. Okay, that's a minim rest there. Okay, so that's our first question done. All about the names of these notes and some rests. Now we need to use our rests again to complete the following bars with a rest or rests in the correct order. And this is actually important, in the correct order. Got to be careful with this. So what we have here, we've got a bar which is C. Remember, C just stands for common time, which is another word for 4/4. So it's basically going to have 4 crotchet beats in this bar. So we've already got 2 beats in this minim, so we need some rest or rests which are going to fill in the remaining 2 beats. Now for this one, I think we could probably just draw a minim rest, or it would still be correct just to draw 2 crotchet rests. Okay, but to make it easy, I'll just fill that one in with a minim rest, again being careful to put it just on the line and not fill in the whole space. Now we've got to be careful with the order of our rests. So here we've got 4/4 as our time signature again. And I'll just move our paper so we can see it. 4/4 with our time signature again. But the first beat is already taken up with a crotchet, effectively 2 quavers. So that's 1 beat. Now we've got 3 beats that we need to fill in. And I think it would be safest, a lot of different combinations would be correct, but it would be most correct and safest if we were to just fill in with 3 more crotchet rests. Okay, so getting used to how we do our crotchet rests again. A Z, and a Z with a C underneath. Okay, they don't have to be perfect looking printed ones, but that will do. Okay, now another one. So that's our 4 beats taken up. So this is how we do it. Work out what we've already got, see what we need to fill in, and then just fill it in with the right number of rests. Just by the way, you can't really put a minim rest in there. Although it would make up the right number of beats, it would put the accent of those beats onto the wrong one. So we need to think about how these bars are being played as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't put a minim in the middle, even though that would add up to the right number. It's more to it than that. So now our last part of this question, we've got 3/4, so we've only going to try and get 3 beats into this bar. We've already got 2 beats taken up with notes, so that's the beat. Those 2 quavers are a beat. We just want 1 more beat, and so again we can just use our crotchet rest like that. Okay, now we've got to add 1 rest at each of the places marked with the asterisks to make the bars complete. So they only want 1 rest that's going to do that whole space. So again, 4/4, we've got 4 beats we need to get into each bar, and we've already got 2 beats taken up with notes. Seeing that, 2 beats taken up with notes. So we just need 1 beat rest that's going to take up the remaining 2 beats in that bar. And so of course that's the note, our rest for 2 beats, which will be one of those, a minim sitting on that B, on that middle line there. Okay, and here we've got one rest that takes up the rest of this bar with beats. So we've already got 3 beats, 1, 2, 3, and we've got to get a rest for one more. So again, that's just going to be our crotchet rest, like that, in there. Okay. Now, last part of this question about timing, or the third part, I don't know if it's last yet. Third part of our question about timing, we now need to add the time signature into each of the following melodies. And there's 2 melodies, okay. So, looking at all the bars, don't just go for the first one. We've got to sort of check that we're right across the whole piece. And we just need to count up how many beats is in each bar. So here we can go 1, 2, 3, that's good. 1, 2, 3, yep. 1, 2, 3. So we can count 3 beats and they're crotchet beats. So our time signature is going to be 3, 4. And if you want to check, the first beat, the first bar actually adds up to 3 beats when you combine it with the last bar of this melody. Okay, so that's why we want to check right across the whole piece to make sure we're not just going with the first bar or the last bar. Next melody, okay, it looks like it's going to be 2 beats, 1, 2, but checking again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. So each of these bars now has 2 beats in it, 2 crotchet beats. So our time signature is going to be 2, 4. Okay, 3 crotchet beats, it's going to be 3, 4, 2 crotchet beats, it's going to be 2, 4. Seen up here, if it's 4 crotchet beats, it's going to be 4, 4. Okay, next question, and we're all about pitch, so this is how high or low these notes are, and we need to know now our names for these notes, which is what we drew up at the start. Okay, so just going along our notes, they've given us that as a C sharp. Actually, if you're not sure and they tell you that's a C sharp, then you can probably easily count up or down from there, C, B, A, G, F, or C, D, E, F, up from there. But it's easiest just to either know them or to be able to look at our little chart that we drew up at the start. All of our notes. C sharp, okay, that's good. This one here is a G. This one here is a D flat. Okay, and I want you to write out the word sharp or flat, so we'll write D flat. This is an F. Again, just checking on your chart if you need to. This is a B, and because they've put this sign in front of it, I think we need to write out B natural. Okay, so that little sign is obviously a natural. Okay, and up here we've got a G, can be just a G on its own, doesn't have to be anything else. And this one here, we've got A sharp. That's the note A and it's a sharp, so we write out A sharp. Good, that's the first part of that question. Moving down now, be careful, these notes are now in the bass clef. Okay, but still you can look at your chart or you can work them out another way we know how. So remember, if a note is on a space in the bass clef, its name will be the same as the space above in the treble clef. Okay, so just looking at that note, it's going to be an A, isn't it? This one's going to be a D flat. Okay, so now we can just go along, either referring to your chart or doing something else that we know, just knowing the notes. This is going to be a G, this is going to be a B. This is going to be a F sharp. And I'm just using that idea because obviously we're probably more used to seeing notes in the treble clef, but even then it's easy to work out what they are. That's an A. This is a D flat, okay, D flat. And again, writing out the whole word flat. Don't just put a D with a flat sign after it. They want you to write them out. This is an E. E, make sure it's an E. Okay, and the top one, this is our middle C, isn't it? Okay, same in both treble and bass, it's a C. And because these haven't got any sharps or flats after them, we can just write them as their letter names. Okay. Next part of this question, we want to write the following notes as semi-breves. Be careful when it says this. We've actually got to be really careful all the way through all these exams that we're doing exactly what the question says. Okay, so it says semi-breves. Don't just write the note as a crotchet or something like that. They won't like that. So now we've got middle C on a line. So we know middle C, it's the note we started with. It's this one here, isn't it? And we've got to be really careful on a line underneath the staff as a semi-breve. Okay. Again, we're still in the treble clef, so be careful checking that each time. G sharp on a line. So we've got a G here on a line. Careful to put it exactly on the line. Don't make it fuzzy either side. And because it's a G sharp, now we've got to put a sharp exactly on the line, making sure the sharp is right across that line in front of the note, G sharp. Okay, now we've got a D on a line. I mean, a D could be down here, but that wouldn't be on a line. So we've got to draw the next one up, which is up here in the treble. And again, careful to just put it straight across the line. Okay, now we've got in the bass clef, middle C on a line. Now it's a middle C here, but remember in the bass clef, middle C is up the top, up there. Okay, that's a C, middle C on a line. Now we know E flat in a space, and be careful again, it's in the treble. So our E flat in a space, not going to be here because that would be treble. Now we're in the bass, E flat in a space is going to be right there. So again, make sure it just fills in the whole space. No confusion. And because it says E flat, we've just got to put a flat right there in front of it again, exactly in the space. Good. And now we want an A sharp in a space. So an A sharp, we're in the bass clef still. An A is going to be down here in a space. Okay, space below where it would have been in treble. Treble would be there, bass it's the one below. And we see it's an A sharp. So we want to put one of those again right in the space in front of it. Very clear. Okay, good. So now we've got the question which is in all these exam papers. This is the one from 2021, I think. So it's quite a recent one. We want to write the scale of G major beginning in a space. And this is where it's really important to do each of the things that they say really accurately. Okay, so we're reading it really carefully. Write the scale of G major beginning in a space. And the thing is, we've got to write one octave descending. Descending means it's going to start at the top and it's going to go down. So, and they want us to use minims. And they want us to write the key signature. So the first thing we can do is just remembering our key signature for G major. Okay. That is going to be a F sharp. And if you remember back to the video at the start of this, you'll see how we can work that out, all our keys. But again, we've got to be really careful putting our F sharp right on the top line. So it looks exactly the way it needs to. So that's us, we've written the key signature for G major. Now we're going to use minims, and we're going to do 1 octave descending, and we're going to start with a G in a space. So to make that work, I mean there's a G in a space down here, isn't there? But if we went, we'd end up using too many ledger lines. If we want to go with a G in a space, we should start with this one up the top here. Okay, and they want us to use minims. So remember, above the middle line, all our tails for minims and crotchets want to go down. And then I would just write 8 notes evenly spaced out along this if we can, so don't scrunch them all into a little part of the thing. You've got the whole line, we want to move all the way down, 8 notes, nicely spaced out, one after another. E, D, C, again, like I said, give them plenty of space. B, I could actually go up now. A, and G, and I could probably even space them out even better than that if I wanted to. Okay, so that's our 1 octave descending. So good idea to just tick off each of these little things as we get. Right, scale, we've begun in a space, good. We've written the key signature, we've used minims, we've written 1 octave descending. And now we need to mark each semitone with a slur. Now, remember with, oh, that's got to be even better on a line like that. Okay. Just check that you have written 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you haven't missed out any lines or spaces. And just gone nicely down one after another for our scale there. Okay, so remember where the semitones are in a major scale. They're between the 3rd and the 4th note and the 7th and the 8th, and we'll see what that is all about in a moment. Okay, but the other big thing to remember, because we went down from the top, remember we count our tones and semitones from the bottom, okay? Always start from the bottom note when you're counting. So it's going to have to start from this note, and we're going to have to count backwards up to get our 3rd and our 4th and our 7th and our 8th. Don't start from there because you'll get the wrong ones, okay? You'll get the 1st and the 2nd and the 5th and the 6th. So we've got to start from the bottom and count up each note until we get to our 3rd and our 4th. So the semitones, we're doing this part here, going to be between the 3rd and 4th note of the scale, counting from the bottom up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 3 and 4, and we just mark those with a slur like that. Okay, joining those 2 notes together. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we want 7 and 8. 5, 6, 7, 8 at the top. Okay, again, really important to start counting from the bottom and go up, even if you've started coming down. Okay, so that's our marking semitones with the slur. Now we just want to draw a circle around the 5th degree of the scale. So 5th degree just means the 5th note from the bottom. So again, we need to start from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is our 5th note. Just draw a circle around it like that. So that's our scale of G major, and we can tick off that. We've done all those. Okay. Write the major, so the second part of the scale question is we've got to write the major scale that begins on the given note. And so our given note is this one. It's a C, because we're in the bass clef. So C major, remember, doesn't have any sharps or flats, so we don't have to worry about a key signature. We just got to write 1 octave ascending using semi-breves from that note. So then we just draw our 1 octave ascending. Again, try and space them out so you're using as much of the space as you need to. So C, D, careful, E, F, G, and a space, A, B, and the top note needs to be a C. It's actually much better because we've used all of the space that we've got. Looks much better too. Okay, so we're reusing Semi-preves, we've done this, given note, yes. We've written 1 octave ascending. And now this is going to be tricky because we've got to mark each tone with a slur. So where we had our semitones, they were the 3rd and 4th, 7th and 8th. Now the tones are everything else. What I would do, just to get this right, is I would just very faintly draw in a tone, a semitone there, so it's our 3rd to the 4th. And we can start from this end now because we started from the bottom, so we count up from the bottom. 3rd and 4th, and our semitone up the top is going to be 7th and 8th. Okay, really carefully, really faintly draw the semitones in, and then it's easy to just draw a slur on everything that's left. So tone is there, a tone is there, no tone there, that's the semitone, but tone is there, everything that's left other than the semitones. Okay. And now, so that's marking each tone with a slur. So you see how we did that? We sorted out, it's easier to remember where the semitones are, so we fixed those first, but then filled in the slurs for everything else that wasn't a semitone. It's only going to be a semitone or a tone. Can't be anything else, so we filled in the tones. Draw a circle around the 7th degree of the scale. So again, we just count up 7 from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they want us to draw a circle around that. Okay, so it's this one here. Okay, and again, just tick that one off and we're finished. So do this, be really careful that you're making sure you answer all of each question. Okay, so this is the last part of the question about scales, and it's all about scale degree numbers. What I would actually do for this is I would look at the notes that we've got and I would just write out a little scale, and then it should be easy to write the numbers for each note just by going off that. So I'll just quickly grab our practice page again. So this is our practice page here. Okay, and just checking this again. You'll see the key that we were in is F major. Okay, and if you need to check that, first note is an F, and importantly, most music finishes on the key note. So there's our F as a key note there. Okay, so what we want to do is just draw the scale of F major. And I would begin from the bottom note of this little piece that we're trying to get the scale degree numbers for. And that was an E. Okay, and I'll just go F, G, you can draw minims, quadrants, whatever. A, B, up to the top note of our piece. C, careful to go space and line for all of it. E and F at the top, that was our top note in the music. Okay, and I'll draw the first note, the first degree of our scale is going to be an F, so that's a 1. Going back down, we're going to have a 7 there, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, okay, at the top there again. So all of our key notes are Fs, and they're all going to be 1s. If there's going to be a 1. Okay, now I can just use that to fill in the scale degree numbers for the notes. And I can go, that's a 1. Obviously that's F is another 1. If you don't want to use your scale, you can just count up from the ones you've already got. So there's a 1, that's obviously going to be a 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you can count up as you go, 6. Check back with your scale that you've written anyway, occasionally, just to make sure you are right. But it looks like we're okay so far. A, 3, 4, 5. So C. This was our bottom note, remember, so that was a 7. Remember, F is going to be there as a 1, so we can come back 1 to there, and we usually finish on the keynote or the tonic, it's called, which is another F, so that can be our 1, 2, 1. Very good, 10 easy marks. Okay, so next thing is about filling in intervals. Let's check we can see that. Okay, so for each of these notes, we need to write one note above them to make the following intervals. So these are actually quite easy if you know how. All we need to do is just count up the spaces and the lines, the number that they've put here. Okay, so for a fifth, we can start there. We can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that will be in a space up there. Okay. Be really careful with everything, like with everything else, your scales and your degree numbers and everything, that you're not missing out any spaces and lines. If you need to, check it again twice, but that's a fifth there. Okay, seconds are quite easy to remember because they're always going to just be off to the side a little bit and on the space or the line above the note. Okay, so that's going to be a second there. A third, well, we can count them up. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And be really careful, again, that's just on the line, not anything confusing. That's the third. Seventh, okay, we're going to count 7 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And the seventh is just before the keynote, isn't it? So we're going to just check that that was a G, that's an F and a G, so it's the seventh there. Okay, now we've got to do the opposite. They've given us the notes, and now we need to fill in the number for the interval. Okay, so same thing, just count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a sixth. Check that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Being careful. Each of these notes, I think they mean for these to be the keynotes as well. So this is the key of C major. It's going to have an A in it. And the reason I say that is because this is the key of F major and it will have a B flat in it. Okay, so they want just even right from the start to start treating the bottom note as the keynote or the tonic. But anyway, we just want the intervals. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's fourth. So it's just easy. Count each one. Check it again if you need to. When you see two notes and they're both, say, a G, like this one, you can instantly say it's an octave. Okay, but you can count up anyway if you want to check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 notes is an octave. So we'll actually call that an octave rather than an eighth or anything else. Octave. Okay, and just like up here, every time you see one of these, it's different to all of the other intervals, and we know that looks like a second. Don't even need to count it. It's 1, 2. Okay. So now we come to more key signatures, and we also need to write tonic triads. So start with the first part of the question. We'll just write the key signature of G major, which we know now is just a F sharp, making sure that's really carefully on the line. And then we need to write the tonic triad of G major. Now they don't really tell us which G we want to use, but to be sensible, I think we would just draw this G that's on the line in the middle here. And remember, the tonic triad is just the note on the line above. Really careful. And the note on the line above that. Okay. So it's G, B, and D. And they're the tonic and the third and the fifth. That's what a tonic triad is. Tonic is the keynote, G. Then we go a third above that is B. Fifth above the tonic is a D. G, B and D. And because we got the key signature and it's a major key, we don't have to worry about any other sharps or flats. Okay, the next part of this, we've got to do another tonic triad. Write a bass clef. Okay, so remember our bass clef is just like this, and with two dots in the top two spaces, making our dots where we can see them. Okay, we want to write the tonic triad of C major. Now again, it doesn't say which C we want to use, but to be sensible, we'll just do this one here, right in the middle. And if it's a tonic triad starts on a space, we just draw a note in the space above, and the space above that. Again, tonic, third and fifth. So it's going C, E, G. That's our tonic triad, and because C major doesn't have any key signature, don't have to worry about any key signatures. Good. We'll leave out the next part. We won't worry about writing happy birthday just yet, and we'll go straight to question 6, which is about transposition. And they want us to transpose this melody up into the key of F major. So the first part of this, we've got to see what the key is at the moment, and it starts and finishes with a C, and it's got no sharps and flats, so we can say the key for the moment is C major, and they want us to go up to F major. And there's a couple of different ways we can do this, and I'm going to start off by doing it the proper way. Right, so we've already drawn, just before we drew a scale of F major, and it was that one there. So underneath, I'm going to start to draw the scale of C major, and I'm going to try and, this is all within an octave, so I'm just going to draw an octave scale of C major, and we need to get our scale degree numbers again. Okay, so I'll just quickly do that. Okay, so here you can see I've drawn the scale of C major with its scale degree numbers, and above, before we did our scale of F major to get the scale degree numbers. If you didn't do this before, you can just do it again for these ones, because we need both scales with all the degree numbers covering the range that's in the melody. Okay, so we're going to go from the C major scale up to the F major scale degree numbers, and this is a longer way of doing it, but in some ways it's more correct, so we'll start off doing it this way. We want to go along and we want to get all our scale degrees from C major, and we just want to write those above the notes that are here. So just working off our chart for this, that's a 1, that's a 5, that's a 6, that's a 5 again. F was a 4, yep, obviously, and that's a 5. Make sure you're looking at the right scale, always. Okay, A is a 6th, F in the scale of C major is a 4, that's a 3, that's a 4 again, that's a 5, that's a 3. Okay, it takes no time really to just fill all these in, and it makes sure that we're doing it properly, and it's likely to be correct. C up the top there is a 1, C down the bottom's a 1, and D is a 2, and we finish on the keynote. So that's all our scale degree numbers. Alright, now in the lines below, we need to transpose this up into F major. Okay, so just down there, working straight off our scales, we can see that the C is going to be an F, D is going to be an G, all the way up. So just using, we've only got this line to use, okay. So we'll start off, we'll also put a treble clef in here. Remember, treble clef goes around the G. We want to put the key signature for F major. That's going to mean we don't have to use any accidentals, so we're going to put key signature first for F major, which is that B, remember? B flat. And then we're going to do our time signature like they have, 4/4. Okay, and now we just need the note from our scale of F major. So our first note is going to be this top F up here. F, scale degree 1 from F major. Then we want scale degree 5 from F major. Again, it might look different to theirs because we're a few notes higher and now our crotchets and things can go down, whereas theirs had to go up. Number 6 in F major is up there. Just reserve where we're going to put. Number 5 is going to be there. Number 4. See if you can keep our notes almost beneath where they are, and that means we're going to fill up our whole space neatly without having to scrunch everything out or without running out of space. Just keep them almost directly below their numbers or their notes. Number 4 is going to be a B, yes. And number 5 is going to be up a C again. Okay. So for all these crotchets, quavers, we can actually draw all their tails going down. As I say, even though theirs went up, ours are going to have to go down. Don't forget to draw the little slurs that they've put in as well. Make it look as much like their part as we can. Is our bar line. Okay, now we want to go to the 6th. It's going to be a D. Our 4th is going to be a B. Again, trying to keep it almost directly below where those is. A 3rd is going to be A. 4th is going to be a B. Again, I'll wait till I finish before I decide which way the tail is going to go. 5 is going to be a C. 3 is going to be an A. And so yeah, this one can go up with our tails. But then we'll join them all together like they have and put their little slurs in. Oh, don't forget the staccatos. Staccato there, I'll put it underneath so it doesn't get too mixed up. Okay, and then we've got slurs on that one and a bar line. Careful to keep them under because you don't want to run out of space either. 4 is a B. A 1 up there is an F. It's going to be right up there. A 1 down here is going to be an F again. A 2 is going to be a G. All good. Bar line, and we're going to finish on with a semi-breve on our F, the tonic there. Okay, so that's the slightly longer, more proper way to do it. Another way we can do it if you need to be a bit faster and you can quickly count down notes or count up notes, is if we're going from the key of C major up to the key of F major, we just need to count up those letters, don't we? We can just go C, D, E, F. That's 4. And that just means that every note we just need to go up a 4th from there. Okay, and that'll work for every single note that we've drawn here. just to check that idea, so if we start with our C, 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got an F. Pick another note, we've got an A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got a D, and it's correct. So just remember that. And you can even use that, even if you've done it the proper way first, or the longer way, you can always use this idea to go back and check that what you've written is correct, if you've got time at the end. But I think that's good for transposition. Okay, so this is the last part of our grade 1 theory exam for NZMEB, and we've got some questions about our musical knowledge, and we need to add a few extra terms and signs to the music that's written below this question here. Okay, so the following melody is written in the key of F major, just remembering what that is. And the first thing they want us to do is to write the key signature of F major. Okay, so you can just look at our little chart that we put up at the start. That's our key of F major, isn't it? 1 flat, and it's a B flat. And again, with these with these questions that have numerous different parts, it's a good idea to just tick off each one as you do it so you don't miss anything out. Each one's worth 1 point. The time signature. Okay, so this is going back to one of the first questions in this paper, and that was to work out how we work out the time signatures for a piece of music. So we just want to count up the beats that are in each bar. So there's 1 beat, 2 beats, 3 beats. Make sure that's not just an unusual bar on its own at the start. We'll go to the next one. 1, 2, 3. Yep, looking like 3 beats in a bar. 2, 3. Yep, so I'm pretty sure this one's going to be 3, and they were crotchet beats, so we're going to go 3, 4. Okay, make sure the 3 is on the top. Okay, and we can tick that one off. A tempo, now they need a tempo word above bar 1. That means to play at a moderate speed. Remember, a lot of the words we have in music to describe how to play it are Italian. And an easy word for moderate in Italian is the word moderato. You quite often see this at the start of music, written at the top like this. Tells you how fast we want to play it, or what style we want to play it in as well, sometimes. So that can tick number 3 off. A sign below bar 1 to show the melody begins loudly. And again, this is another Italian word for loud, which is forte. But we don't usually write out forte, it's usually just a symbol and it's like an F, like that. So you can draw an F under the first bar like that. Tick that one off. A sign to show the melody gets gradually louder under bar 1. Okay, so we've got a sign that looks like it's going to get gradually louder, our crescendo. It's going to go under there like bar 1. That one. And then a sign to show the melody gets gradually softer under bar 3. So look up the top there, they've written the bar numbers above each bar. So bar 3 is this one. And if we're going to say that this is going to get gradually louder under bar 3, then we want the sign to actually go all the way almost to cover the whole of that bar. So it's going to say under bar 3 it's going to get gradually louder. And then a sign to show the melody is soft under bar 4. So we've got gradually quieter here. Sorry, I said louder. Gradually quieter here. And it's going to end up being soft. And the word for soft is piano, like the word piano for the instrument. But again, we don't write out piano, we just put a sign for a P under there. Okay, so that's all those ones done now. There's a few other questions about this piece of music. And I'll just put it so we can see it. Okay. So we just got to give the meaning of some of these terms and signs. So the curved line above bar 7, so it's this thing here. And you can see this curved line over all these notes. What's that? Well, remember it's not a tie. Some people think it's a tie, but a tie is when you've got two notes together and you just want to play them for double their length, or the combined amount of time. These are all different notes, and this is a slur. Okay, so a slur just means we're going to join all these notes nice and smoothly together. Again, it's only worth 1 mark, so that's a big hint for us. We only want to write a very simple explanation. Don't write a big long sentence about this. So it's called a slur, okay? And it's notes joined smoothly. Okay. Next we've got the dots above the notes in bar 5. And this is actually the opposite of a slur, so these notes are called staccatos. Remember, spelling staccato, it's got 2 C's and one T, or 2 T's, but they're separate. And these mean notes are short and separate. Okay, make sure we have both those features. Okay, and then, okay, so that was those. Then ritenuto under bar 7. Ritenuto actually means it suddenly gets slow, okay, or immediately gets slow. If you remember the list of musical terms that we have to learn, ritenuto is in that. So ritenuto, we'll just say immediately slower. For that, okay. Now, next, finally for this paper, give the English meaning of the following terms. Presto, we'll just say it means very fast, okay? It's faster than allegro, which we quite often see. Very fast. Okay. Andante, an easy explanation for andante is at a walking pace. Okay, so walking pace. Again, don't need to write too much, they're only worth 1 mark each. We've just got to give the definition that we're expecting. Our tempo is quite often seen in the middle of music, or after there's a rit, the music might slow down or it might accelerate, or the opposite. And our tempo means to return to the original speed. Return to original speed of the music. Okay. And finally, for 2021, we got the word adagio. And adagio, normally in music, we use it to say slowly. Okay, so a slow movement in a symphony or a concerto or sonata is usually given the term adagio, slowly. Okay. It can also mean the style of music. It's normally played in a very smooth, calm fashion as well, but we'll just put that for today, slowly. So that's us for NZMEB Theory Grade 1, 2021. Okay.